Sales is a place where, if as long as you want to be accountable, you can be very successful. All we sell is a promise and a piece of paper at the end of the day. And I take that promise very seriously. A huge part of what we do is making sure that our clients get paid and advocating for clients. We're big, but we're flat enough that people care. We need to do the right thing every single time for our customers. And if you're not that kind of person who's going to do that, you're not going to be on our team.
Hello and welcome to the Differentiation podcast. My name is Michèle Sorgaroli and I am your host. And our guest today has spent 37 years with Hub International. He joined them straight out of university and he never left. Dave Macfarlane's LinkedIn profile doesn't highlight his title, which is Senior Vice President. It simply says, I am Hub, which I love, and that's kind of what caught my attention. So today, Dave's professional focus is around cross-border work with on the insurance side, and he helps Canadian companies navigate the complexity of doing business and placing risk on both sides of the border. According to Dave, Hub is the best kept secret in the industry. And today we're going to discuss how Dave's journey got started, what has influenced how he differentiated himself, and what keeps him inspired. All right. So, David, welcome to the podcast.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Michèle. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you today.
This is a treat. I'm looking forward to it. I just love your I am Hub banner. And as I mentioned, that's what kind of caught my attention straight out of the gates. So before we get into where you are today, I actually want to head way back to 37 years ago. And I noticed that you did your degree at UBC and it was in phys ed, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Physical education. These days they call it, I guess, kinesiology. So when I went through the program, it was definitely a teaching program. Many of the people I graduated with went on to become teachers. I also worked at the UBC Hockey School, and after second year, I kind of went, I do not want to be a teacher. And so I declared a minor in business ed. Was able to take some commerce courses that way, and knew I wanted to get into sales after I graduated. So.
You knew you wanted to get into sales. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, you know what? One of my old hockey coaches, he was promoting sales, because sales is a place where, as long as you want to be accountable, you can be very successful if you don't come from a background of a lot of money, et cetera. So I actually had accepted job offer with a company selling medical equipment, and it was going to pay $40,000 right out of UBC, which in 1989 was a lot of money.
That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah, including a car allowance. And the reason was because, being a physical education graduate, we had a lot of anatomy and physiology background. And my dad, who was an insurance adjuster, told me that I was making a mistake by going into medical equipment. I'd be tied to hospital budgets, et cetera. And at the time, being 22, I listened to my dad, and he was aware of a lot of people, because of his profession as an adjuster, who were insurance brokers. And if I wanted to get residual income, et cetera, which I didn't really even understand what it was at the time. Yeah. So instead of taking the $40,000 job, I took the $1,200 a month job, and started from scratch with the firm at the time was called TOS Insurance Services. We rolled into Hub International in 1999. And and that's how it all started. So,
Love that. So, you said a couple of things which I find really interesting. The first one was sales are great if you want to be accountable. So I want to put a pin in that, because there's something very interesting there. The other thing is that I also want to head into is that you took a risk. You said, you didn't take the $40,000 plus a car job. You took a risk on yourself with the $1,200 a month, whatever that is, $18,000 a year job. And so I want to also have that sort of framing a bit of this, because there was a leap there, and there's an accountability piece as well that I think you were attracted to. So I'm curious about let's start with the accountability piece. What was it? Like, is that today's Dave talking, or is that Dave at 22 years old, knowing that sales was something that you could succeed at if you were willing to hold yourself accountable? Curious.
I guess, and again, coming from one of my old hockey coaches, who's still a good friend to this day, who I respect,
Mm,
I guess you could see, work ethic and all of those things that you do, whether you're
mm,
going to school or whether you're training for hockey or wherever you're doing in life. So I've never had a challenge doing the process, let's say, and that's what sales is all about. I mean, making your calls, following up, doing what you say you're going to do, and yeah, and as a salesperson, one is totally responsible for their outcome. If they're not making their calls, if they're not doing their follow-ups, like I say to my sons who are also have gone into sales, I mean, you can't make the person buy, but I mean, what you are in charge of is the process, and every day doing that process. So
interesting.
it was not an easy process going into sales. I mean, I can tell you the first, you know, I was the first new salesperson that TOS had hired since
Mm.
1976. So, 89,
Wow.
now I see Mage today, having been in the business a long time, and many of my colleagues were on board when I started my career. But so yeah, taking sales programs on my own, Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, all of those things to try and be as good as I could be, and making those cold calls, which to this day, like some people say, oh, rejection's easy. I hate rejection. I still personalize it to this day.
Mm.
And but you have to pick up the phone. You have to continue to do the
Keep
process.
learning.
Yeah.
You commented on taking training early in your career with you mentioned a couple of
Yeah.
the more well-known Brian Tracy and Tony Robbins.
My Zig Ziglar sales tapes in my car.
Oh my gosh, he was a big one back then. I remember that name as well. And still, these are still big names. Curious, was this training that you initiated on your own, Dave, or was this training that was promoted and paid for, supported by the company at that time?
It was really on my own because again, there was no sales training. There was nobody else of my age who was
Yeah.
doing what I was doing. And
Mm,
again, I have to give credit to Mike Campbell, my hockey coach, who encouraged me to do those things. So, buying the Zig Ziglar sales tapes at I forget whatever bookstore they were at, and listening to those, and then finding Brian Tracy and listening to those. And then I will say Mike ran a magazine called Equity Magazine, and many of his salespeople were um, similar to me. And Mike invited me to come to the Tony Robbins sales training. And I
mm.
will say that my employer, TOS, helped pay for that as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
So,
So you
which was,
initiated it and they
and
supported. Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think,
And I
you're
mean,
really drawing on,
today
sorry.
though, I mean, at Hub International, we have incredible sales training. I mean, incredible team sales trainers. But at the time, back in the day, that it was not,
Yeah. Well, there's something
one had to
different.
take initiative.
Yeah, and I'm really hearing that from you, right? You said right at the beginning, the taking the risk with TOS at the time, with a lower
Mhm.
salary and having to invest in yourself and just trusting in your ability to follow the process. There's something as well in terms of just what I'm hearing as an overarching theme for you is this commitment to following the process, trust yourself, show up, do the work, and the results will follow. That's the sense that I'm hearing. Is that an accurate, frame for you? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, you're getting it right, but I gotta tell you, it's not like, do I still have self-doubt? Do I still question it? Do I still yeah, I mean, so I don't take it for granted. How about that? I
Mm-hmm.
and I still worry, and it's probably what makes me good because I don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you're right. If you do all those things, one is, I think, is going to be successful, but
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not arrogant about it by any stretch. I'm yeah, I always worry, always
Yeah.
need to do better,
Need to
and
push.
yeah,
So
maybe
where
that's
do
why.
you think this came
Yeah.
from? This desire to keep pushing yourself and keep driving for better? Was this, um, I heard you played hockey and it sounds like you played at a reasonably high level. Did hockey have a strong influence? It sounds like it did.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, all those life experiences do. I think it's also like starting one's career though and not making a lot of money. I mean, it took a long time until I
Mm-hmm.
made six figures, and just understanding that you can't take those things for granted. So if you want to continue to make a good living, you need to continue to work hard and push forward
Yeah.
and do those things. So I mean, yeah, do I think for me anyways that sports were part of that? Yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
But also just the hard work that went into helping me to become successful in the first place and not taking that for granted and understanding that um, yeah, one, or at least in my case, I can't just stop it because of, I also understand if you just stop it, well then maybe that flywheel goes for another 6 or 7 months, but yeah,
Right. Exactly.
yeah, yeah. And
That's
my
no,
time
that's
horizon's a lot more than
it's
that.
longer than 6 months, is it? So as we, you started out again, I want to come back to your dad's influence for right at the beginning around the medical supply job that you had considered.
Mhm.
Um, it sounds like that he had some perspective and some wisdom to offer you around your bigger potential going forward. What was he bringing to you as a young man, and how did that influence the decisions that you made?
Okay, I mean, uh, he was a serious athlete. He played in the CFL.
Okay.
We were, he coached us. He didn't, I mean, my brother and I didn't play football, but he did coach us in baseball. And all I can say is like we were the most well prepared teams, and we won a lot because I mean we were the only team that, I mean, at least as, at a younger age, who could do cutoffs, who could do rundowns, who could do all of the things that one
Mm-hmm.
would do to play baseball at a high level, and then hockey the same way. We did tons of extra skating and extra ice beyond what was offered through the local
Mm.
community. Um, because he was a football guy, strength was important. So like literally grade three, like every night before we went to bed, push-ups, squats, the famous, we called them green monsters, but the wrist rolls. We had a garbage bucket with 2x4s thrown into it, which was our our
Oh my.
weights. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, and so yeah, just that's what
Amazing.
you do. You got to put the effort in, be prepared, and yeah, and
Really early
so
influence, Dave. At 7 years old, 6, 7, 8 years old, you're learning that kind of
8 years
discipline.
old, yeah.
Yeah. And
I
getting
can't tell
that
you I
kind of
liked
influence.
it. I hated it. Most of my cousins, et cetera, were born in the 50s, right? I was born in the mid 60s. So let's say, yeah, and most of my parents' friends' kids were born in the 50s. So yeah, just older school. Old, I mean,
Yeah, different time. Different
yeah,
time.
different time. And
Uh,
yeah, and so yeah, we had a certain way things were
yeah.
done, and that was the expectation, and that's how
Well, you know what?
how
There's
it
something
was.
there's something that's really standing out for me in this conversation, in that I think it's fairly widely understood or maybe accepted on some level that sports has a really strong influence on business in terms
Mhm.
of how you approach a sport. And when you're successful as an individual player and when you're successful as a team player, that sport experience, if you will, translates often into business and into our profession. Um, And what I'm hearing from you is having had your father's experience as a professional and a high level player, and then bringing that home to you and sort of building in not just the habits, the discipline, and the belief that you can, and continuing to push forward on that. I think that that has really stood out for you. Something you've brought up several times is the idea of process. The process, follow the process. So let's go. You went into phys ed, and I'm assuming the kinesiology today, but phys ed in the day, that was inspired because of your love of sports. I'm making that assumption. Is that true, or was there something else that was attracting you to taking that degree in the first place?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, just yeah, I'd done a first year of arts. Like I didn't really enjoy it, and like
Hmm.
if I'm going to do this, I want to do something I love and
Nice.
want to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, and being in physical education was awesome. And this things we were learning, there's things I wanted to learn about, like
Right.
anatomy and physiology and exercise science and all of the things that went with that. So yeah,
Amazing.
I really enjoyed my degree, but again, understood that I was not going to be a teacher, and so what was I going to do afterwards, and hence sales. I was going to come back to what we were just talking about, though. I think sports, at least in my case, it teaches one that things aren't always easy.
Hmm.
And it's like just says keep pushing forward, and things will hopefully eventually work out. But at least you're doing what you. It's not like we always have control, but you're doing or you have control over the things that one has control over
Yeah.
of, and they're not always easy. But if you continue to do them, I think over time, just like doing push-ups every night and hating them,
Yeah.
but
Still do them. Yes.
eventually there's some benefit.
There's
So
some
just like doing your
benefit.
cold calls,
Right.
I mean that, eventually that those things pay off. And I
Yeah.
will say, like in my career, and I say this to my own sons right now who just started their careers at Cushman Wakefield, actually in real estate. It's just
Nice.
all the calls that I made in the first two
Yeah.
years were all the sales that I made in the next 10 years. And it's,
Mhm.
yeah, following up, following up, following up. And
Process.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is a
That
process.
consistency. Yeah. It's coming
Mhm,
back to,
mhm.
yeah, I'm just hearing that over and over again from you, this concept of the following up, following through, and staying with the system. The other thing that has also stood out for me was you talked about, even, you did the extra ice time, and you did extra practice, and you were always doing extra stuff as a young
And it's
kid
not like I like doing it. It's
I'm
like,
imagining myself. I'm
yeah,
remembering when, my brother and I, and it's a sunny evening in June, and we're all riding our bikes on the streets and whatnot. We're 7, 8, 10 years old, whatever. And
yeah,
I was not raised in an environment where we were doing 2x4s of weightlifting and that kind of thing. So I can only imagine how that would have felt, because, I remember when my friends were playing and I was either piano practicing or doing whatever I had to do.
yeah,
I was like, no, I don't want to be doing this. I want to be out with my friends.
yeah.
And at the same time, you learned very early that the extra time that you invest, or however you do that, the extra practice, the extra time that you put into it, the extra training that you invest in, pays off. And then you did that right early in your sales career as well. So that is carried through. And that was an investment you made yourself, right?
Yeah,
That you
and
initiated.
and you say that now, and it seems so logical, but it's not like, I mean,
Right.
I mean, I had to do things to be successful. So, okay, great. If this is going to help me be
Yeah,
successful, then I'm going to trust that's what's
exactly.
going to happen. If
And,
this is what sales professionals do, then that's what I need to do. So,
yeah, and I think that's what you're really pulling on, something that's a
mhm,
big part of our journey. A lot of us, we make these decisions, we don't realize what has influenced us along the way. We don't
mhm.
realize the influences that we had as an 8-year-old, or showing up in our sales career at 23 years old, right? Or even showing up later, in much later
Yeah,
years, at 37 years in the business. We don't realize that these little bits of our history have sort of planted seeds that have impacted who we've become and how we approach the whole journey. So
mhm.
let's get into Hub. So
Yeah.
you're working in Hub, and you're in sales, and you've come from a phys ed degree and sports. And
Mhm.
And your dad, of course, was in insurance, you said, so you had a little bit of that. What was happening in your early career at that time that kept your interest? Why did you stay?
I think but again, it's not like it was always easy,
Hmm.
far from it. But I guess I'll share an experience. Like I only played varsity hockey for 1 year and I left.
Okay.
And I never liked that feeling of quitting. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think that stuck with me. And that's one of the reasons I never left is that, I mean, the grass is always greener on the other side. But I mean, whatever firm I went to, I would still have to be making those calls and doing all the things that um, I would have to do. So and going back to my dad, interesting to say that my brother's been with the same employer for 39 years at Open
Wow.
Road Auto Group.
Oh my
And my
gosh.
sister has been with the Richardsons Group for like 36 years. So obviously there's something in our upbringing that we
Yeah.
stick to it, even when things aren't always, um, they're not always easy, right? So,
Yeah.
and hey, I'm super happy I have. We've grown from like as TOS back in the day, I think our annual revenues were about $2 million a year. Today as Hub, we're going to do $5 billion in revenue this
Amazing
year with
growth.
22,000 employees. I mean, people give me the gears and say, "Oh, you've never left." Well, I know I haven't, but it's not like it's the same company when,
Right.
from
Yeah.
my tiny little broker to sixth largest insurance broker in the world, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, and Hub has been an incredible story and to have been part of that. And I've always sold, but I was in management for a number of years as well.
Yeah. So
And
I want to
yeah,
interrupt you here. Can I take it? Because you
yeah,
said
yeah,
it's been
please.
an
Yeah.
incredible story to be a part of. And what I'd love to just to spend a moment on is what's the story that you're
Oh,
talking
okay.
that you're a part of, like the part that you're leaning into and going, this has been an incredible story. What's the
Oh,
story from Dave's perspective that you're
okay.
leaning
Well,
into?
okay. So yeah, I mean, so we were TOS was part of a broker affinity group of some brokers of similar size across Canada by the name of INS, Insurance Network Solutions. And the fellow that led that was a person by the name of Rick Gulliver, based in Leamington, Ontario.
Hmm.
And then at Prem Watts's behest, so Prem Watts of Fairfax Financial, he backed Rick to create a Canadian brokerage firm. And it was logical that Rick would try and acquire the firms that had been part of INS since he had
Hmm.
led that. And we didn't go in 98. We went in 99.
Okay.
But and it was certainly, it wasn't easy. Like when we went in, we got paid $19 per share for what we had brought to the table as
Hmm.
TOS. And we were traded publicly in Toronto. And then we got a New York listing, I think in 2000. And we went from $19 a share to $8 a share. And it sat there from
Ouch.
2000 through till 2007. And, I had big loans for shares. I mean, that was not an easy time.
Yeah.
And yeah, but
Hmm.
yeah, let's put it this way. In 2007, we went from being a publicly traded company into private equity, but we exited at $43 a share, I think was the number at the time. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, when one is underwater and
Yep.
has huge loans and for a number of years, and young kids and family, and you just gotta do the things that you have control over of, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Do the things that you have. I love that. Again, it keeps coming back, right? This idea. And you've said several times at various parts of your life, you've said it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but focus on what you can control, whatnot. But you kept coming back. That's something that is really standing out for me,
Mhm.
is even though it wasn't easy, you kept doing it. And so I'm
Yeah, I
curious
mean,
about
yeah.
what is it about that is um, what's underneath that, if you want to call it resilience or continuity, like that sense of just keep going, keep coming back, keep doing it. What's underneath that, Dave?
I think we talked about it. I think it's that feeling if you quit, like I did,
Ah,
uh, it's not a good feeling. And versus sticking
okay.
with it, keep going, keep going, keep going. And then it's also like I've had the good fortune to have great clients over the years who started off at as small clients and grew into big
Hmm.
ones. And their own stories. Like it's not always easy, in one particular case, um, this was a waffle company, and actually a fellow I'd worked with at UBC Hockey School who was
Oh
the
my gosh.
the chef, and he was originally making these waffles by hand, and then um, they grew and grew and grew. But as they grew, every time they grew, they ran into problems,
Right.
and at least like when everything was going horribly, he would go out and sweep the parking lot because he goes, okay, at least I can do that well,
Nice.
and that will work out. And they were, yeah, very successful in what they did and achieved. And a number of stories from clients like that who, when they share with you, and I'm thinking another one, and yes, how are they going to make their numbers? And
Yeah.
lots of companies have big financings, and you have to achieve your numbers, and it's not always easy, right? You just
Right.
got to stick with it and keep going, keep grinding, keep making it happen. So
There is
yeah,
something in this for you. Like you're lighting up and I can see it. There's something about the growth story and the getting through the doing all the hard stuff and then getting the good stuff on the other side. Not just, you talked about Hub and challenging, going from TOS to Hub and the journey there. And then you talked about clients and their growth story. There's
yeah.
something about the I don't know. I don't know. The word that's coming up for me is feisty. But I'm not sure if that's the descriptor that aligns for you. But what are you noticing here? I'm so curious.
I know. I guess for my observation in life, like, and this is just mine, and not to say it's just, and maybe using a term that you hear more and more these days is grit. I mean,
Ah,
it is the sticking to it. It is the not quitting. It is the continuing to push forward even when things aren't easy. And would I want to do it all over again? No.
right.
I'm sure glad I've stuck with it. And yeah, and I am going to continue to stick with it, like in terms of all the things that need to be done, right? So
Uh-huh.
yeah, and just, yeah, not taking things for granted, and not taking customers for granted, and doing the best job that we can every single day. Because as I say to my team, if we don't do our job, somebody else is going to do our job for us. And all the
Hmm.
business that we've won over the years and taken from others, like if we take our clients for granted,
Right.
then that's what's going to happen for us. So
Yeah.
it just, I can't overemphasize it with, my own team of people who I work with at
Hmm. Hmm.
national on a daily basis.
So this is an interesting piece because in the insurance industry, what is it about insurance that has I'm hearing grit and I'm hearing the growth and I'm hearing potential and all of that. And there's a thing about risk management around insurance, right?
Mhm.
So I'm curious about what it is about insurance specifically that lights you up.
Well, I'm on the property casualty side. So mean, all we sell is a promise and a piece of paper at the end of the day. And I take that promise very seriously. And maybe it's because I'm the son of an adjuster. And as a kid, you'd get up in the morning and where's dad? And dad had to go to a claim last night at 3 a.m, which was not uncommon because he did heavy equipment. And understanding that, we're making a promise to our customers. And I joke around at all my lost hair and gray hairs claims. I mean, a huge part of what we do is making sure that our clients get paid and advocating for clients to, and when you do that, you become part of their team and get embedded with the customer they understand you're valued. They're not just buying insurance. They're buying people who actually care and want to get a great outcome for them so that they do remain in business, because things happen. I mean, it's just the way it is. And and it's a tough business to differentiate oneself in, because there's a lot of people who do the same thing, and it's a price competitive business, and we have to be competitive in that regard. But it's and that's table stakes. But it's when things go wrong, and it's being there and stepping up to the plate. And maybe that's a chance. You talked about at the beginning, one of the reasons that we really do, or at least my team, we target Canadian customers with employees and operations in the US. And because of our hub footprint in Canada and the United States of America, that's where we really separate ourselves. So when a Canadian company moves to the US, it's a new environment. And I think you've heard me or read some of my articles, and I say it's like playing, well, most of the time we think Canada and the US are the same. If we play hockey, it's the same sport. If we play basketball, we play golf. But then, if we take our Canadian football team down to the US, and, as soon as we line up, our wideouts are out of bounds because the Canadian field's wider. Right. Well, still wider. It's not longer anymore, but it's wider, and then we get another penalty because we got 12 men on the field and not 11 on the field. And then we go kick on third down, and they laugh at us. And it's just like, is it because we're not good football players? No, it's just, we don't understand the rules of the game. So, when our customers go to the US workers' comp is a completely different animal than Canada. In Canada, we've got what's called a monopolistic system. It's run by the government. And in the US, there's 4 states that are running their own workers' comp program. But, in the other 46, it's all, it's a free market system. And then US healthcare, again, we're in a monopolistic government system or provincial system here, and there it's a completely free enterprise system. And and then auto is different as well. So we help clients navigate that, not just navigate that, because, and I think it's partly because we all grew up in hub together. I mean, I've had a whole peer group that's my age and has similar experience, and it's easy to pick up the phone and say, hey, we've got this, I think that's what really makes us different from other brokerages. And Hub spent so much time on that culture from the time we started, to make sure that people are connected and linked together. So even at the 22,000 people we have today, there's still lots of great connection and connectivity, and people get it, like that we work together as a team. And I think that really separates ourselves from some of our competitors, in terms of being together as a team and doing what's best for our customers, not what's best for Dave in Vancouver, or our people in Toronto, or our people in New York, like doing what's best for the customer. And so surprisingly, insurance is a really regional business, and an insurance company rates that they have in Vancouver are very different from the rates in Toronto. And then when it gets to workers' compensation and auto, some insurance brokers use insurers that are licensed on both sides of the border and to place those risks. And you can do that, but it makes a big difference if you can make that placement directly where the client's doing business. And because we've got great teamwork, great collaboration, we're able to do that very effectively for our customers. And that's what separates us from all the others.
Yeah. I can hear a shift in your voice as you were sharing that, particularly around the team thing. And what's coming up for me is I'm David the player on the team, if you will, the hub team. David the player, he brings grit. He brings this intense promise that says, I'm promising you that you're going to get the result that we've offered or told you you're going to get, right? And you alluded to this very quickly, but it's your experience with your dad. You said maybe because my dad was an adjuster, getting up at 3 a.m, going to a claim. You have a deeper sense of empathy of what that relationship, I think, looks like for the client, having experienced that with your dad. So there's something about that feels more pronounced for you because of who you were and your experience as a young man and a boy growing up in that environment. And then the team aspect, what I heard, and I love this, I heard, connectivity, everybody linked together. We play together. There's a whole cohort of us that have grown up together.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So talk about that, because that's something that's really resonating for you.
Yeah, and again, it's a lot of people deserve credit for that and a lot of those people are retired, but it's continued where, yeah, just it's a culture within the company that people support one another and want to do what's best for, number one, what's best for our customers and how do we achieve that? And then just having great communication between our offices. And yeah, and we just don't say that. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, that's what we do. And I'm fortunate because I've been here so long. I mean, I can still pick up the phone to our CEO, Mark Cohen, and say, hey, Mark, can you please give this customer a call? And Mark, no problem, Dave. I mean, the fact that we're still that flat that
yeah,
I can pick up the phone to our CEO and he'll gladly take my call. And I mean, I don't take that for granted, and I also don't overstep the bounds. But when it's the right customer in the right situation, to have a company where we're big, but we're flat enough that we can, people care.
Yeah, I'm hearing again, really, you're a skilled and experienced team player is the sense that I'm getting, the understanding of just even what you said there around boundaries, around not taking things for granted, knowing when it's appropriate, knowing when to lean back, knowing when to lean in. There's a nuance there that I'm hearing probably has a lot to do with your upbringing in that environment. And nonetheless, you've honed that even further, is kind of what's coming up for me here. I said this at the beginning, your LinkedIn banner, I am Hub. I want to spend just a moment on that because it's so bold, so powerful. Dave, what are you saying when you're saying to the world, I am Hub?
Okay. And I cannot take credit for that. That's from our great marketing communications team out of Chicago.
Okay.
And so if you
but
look
you're
at a number,
you're owning it. You're putting that label on.
Oh
so
yeah,
for
I am
you,
Hub. Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
you love it for a different reason from how one of your colleagues might, for example, right? Like you've all got a different reason for wearing that. What is it that you're saying when you're saying, I am Hub? What is Dave actually saying?
Well,
through that
not
statement?
That we have the market clout, but we've got the integrity, we've got the caring. We deliver over and over and over again for our customers, whether that's on price, whether that's on claims, whether that's on service. Like we are there for you. And unfortunately, when we're required, it's not a great situation. And it's stepping up to the plate and being there and delivering a great result for customers. And that's our job. So it's and I take a lot of pride in that because and I am Hub, because we all take that very, very seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to repeat back what you said. You said it's not a great situation, but we stick with it to get a great result. And this is what we've been talking about through this conversation, right? It's not easy, but you keep at it. It's the same thing. It's not a great situation, but we stick with it. Um, there's a theme there I'm hearing over and over and
Well,
over
it's true.
again.
Like, I mean, well, it's just the nature of the business, being through massive losses. I'm thinking of one in particular, because in this particular loss was a massive fire loss. I mean, it took 3 years to get back up and running
Oh,
again, but
wow.
we had done our job and had the right cover in place. We had weekly meetings with this customer throughout that process. I mean, it was a huge commitment on the customer's part as well, though, right?
Yeah.
To get a great outcome
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, and a business that continues to thrive. So at the end of, like, we're a funding mechanism, but we're also a negotiating mechanism.
Yeah.
And insurance companies, I mean, they're great. They're not always operating at the same speed that we need them to operate with, or the client needs them to operate
Mm-hmm.
with, so it's a collaborative effort
Yeah.
to get a great outcome. But you can't. I think that's one of the mistakes that are made in claims, that people think, oh, there's insurance and they'll just look
Mm-hmm.
after it. Well, it, everyone's got to have the running shoes on to get a great outcome at the end of
Mm-hmm. Really interesting. And just being very comfortable, not necessarily liking it, but being very comfortable with difficult situations when it's hard or when it's not easy, being comfortable in that environment and being able to move through it and understand what it takes attached to that process. There's some really strong pieces here that are, sort of popping out in threads that I'm hearing from
Yeah,
you.
and we've got great
Yep.
great teammates who
Yeah.
it takes all of us to
I
deliver
love
a
that.
great result. So
That's what a great teammate would also bring forward, right? The team. Okay, so you're now on cross-border, and I'm hearing that that's another, growth opportunity in terms of your own growth and stretching you into new territory. That's exciting, and I saw that as you lit up or you're talking about it. So more specifically, Dave, what is inspiring you as you think forward in the next few years of your career and where you want to take it? What keeps you in the game? What keeps you playing now?
uh, um, I love the customers I work with, and I guess wanting to do more of this, because we do separate ourselves, in my opinion,
Mhm.
so much. And that's you've seen the LinkedIn articles. It's to try and communicate to customers out there what we do and how we separate ourselves. And by doing it the way that we do it, like, we've saved clients. Like, the most extreme example is $2.5 million by simply making a placement of their insurance in the region that made the most sense. And
Mm.
it's not like other brokers can't do that, but um, that's just part of our DNA and who we are. I mean, that particular customer, because we took it from somebody else, they could have done that for years, and they just chose not to. So, like, in our case, we just, customers number one, do the right thing every time.
Mm.
And when we look at Canadian companies growing, I mean, no different than Hub. Like, we've got, what, 42 million people in Canada versus 350 million in the US. If in order to be a billion-dollar revenue company, like, you have to sell into the United States of America.
Mhm.
Like, that's just the way it is.
Mhm.
And I can tell you, all of at least the largest customers that I deal with, who have billions of dollars in sales, is because they made that
Mhm.
expansion to the US. And I will say, not just one of my big aha moments, probably 12 years ago, was, oh, it's not just selling on the West Coast, it's selling into the Eastern Seaboard. And you think about it, you've got 100 million people between Virginia Beach and Maine, and it's just such a massive marketplace. So customers that are selling into that Eastern Seaboard, that's when you start to see that, billions of dollars of sales annually. And for Canadian customers that are growing and expanding, I mean, it's the logical place to do that. And we would love to partner. And we think we can bring lots of great value, because it is a surprise for customers who first make that move. And when they're paying, for example, in US healthcare, $15,000 per plan participant per year. So it's not just if you've got family on there, it's big money. I mean,
different
besides their payroll and cost of goods sold, I mean, US healthcare is, I would say, at least the third or fourth largest expense once somebody moves to the US. And workers' comp, again, way bigger bill than you're dealing with in Canada. So you've got to be dealing with somebody who really knows that and can help them navigate that whole system and manage that. And same with US auto. Again, we want to be part of our customers well and be a valued resource in delivering great solutions and results for them.
Yeah, I'm hearing that. You said, and I just want to finish with this, because there was so much conviction when you made the statement, do the right thing every time. Now, I've heard that, as have you, I'm sure, from countless people over the years, and so many people say that. But Dave, there was something about the way you said it that had that had more substance in it. And I'm just wondering, what's behind that? Like, it's clearly important to you. Why?
Oh, well, from an integrity perspective, I mean, Hub lives that. Like, years ago, when we first became part of Hub, there was some people internally that didn't do the right thing. And I was so impressed that our president at the time made the decision, like, instantly, that those people no longer could be part of our team because they didn't do the right thing. And that sent a clear message that this wasn't just words, like we live this, like that we need to do the right thing every single time for our customers. And if you're not that kind of person who's going to do that, you're not going to be on our team. So to me, like, that's who I am anyways, but like, that's who we are as a company. Like, if a person doesn't behave in that manner and doesn't do what's best for our customers, they won't be with Hub. They're just not going to be part of our team. So, and we really do that. So
yeah, I can hear that. And there's, as I'm thinking about it, for everybody in Hub who plays by those rules and has the confidence that everyone else plays by those rules, the level of trust and confidence in the company and in your peers within the company is so much greater, because there's no question. I would think that has huge impact on what you are willing to put out there and how you're willing to collaborate with your coworkers, right? People who are part of your team.
Yeah, and that's what makes the Hub culture unique.
You've touched on something really, really important. And of course, coming back to sports, that's also what makes an NHL or a CFL winning team, right? That kind of trust in the integrity of the teammates and knowing everyone's going to do the right thing every time and put in the effort and have the grit.
Yeah, everyone has to play their role, right?
I love it.
And on the team, like, because everyone has to.
I hear
play
that.
their role.
That's fantastic. Well, for anyone who thinks that who wants to know, what I Am Hub means, we now understand. You're definitely Hub, because Hub is an extension of you, not the other way around. is what I'm really hearing from you, right? That Hub is, you are part of Hub because it is part of you. And that's not really you can't distinguish between the two. I love that, Dave. Okay. So as we're winding up, I would love for you to just reflect on the conversation we've had over the last 45 minutes or whatever it's been, and share with us, what would you like people to remember or to know that would support them going forward?
Well, life isn't always easy, and people, and just keep doing it, right? Especially,
Mm.
yeah, when times are darkest, because it's not like I haven't gone through things like that myself. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and trust that if you do the process, whatever that process is for you, if you're in sales, clearly it's making your calls, etc. But most things in life have a process that you will be successful. If you're like my customer Oli and friend Oli with the waffle company, and if when things were looking darkest, go out and sweep the parking lot, and you could, there's something that you control at some level, and just keep doing it, and things will work out. So
That's beautiful. Well, thank you for sharing that. Life isn't easy. Just keep doing it. Trust the process. You'll be successful. Control what you can, right? Love it. Dave, for those people who would like to find out more about you and find out more about how Hub might support them, especially in their cross-border opportunities, where might they find you?
Okay, phone number 604-817-4645, and my email address is dave.macfarlane, which is MacFarlane at hubinternational.com. World's longest email address. And love to hear from you.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing.
All
Thank
right,
you for
Michèle,
being
thank you
with
so
us
much for
today.
the opportunity.
Been a delight. All right. Bye for now.